Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Evolution Network's 2017 NFL or NBA Draft Award Show. This is going to be a pretty fun show, so thank thank you for joining us. I'm your host Joseph Potter. With me, TJ Jenkins, and looking at this draft, I just gotta think. You know, there's some winners, there's some losers, some pretty sharply dressed guys, not so sharply dressed guys. Um, so we're gonna. Chris Ransom will probably be joining us shortly after he gets off his whatever and doing whatever. It's hard to tell with him, but he'll be joining us shortly. So let's go over something that is near and dear to my heart. TJ, man, your mind, best dressed prospect.
Draft prospect. Let's
Yes,
see.
best
So
dressed.
winners and losers for the draft prospect.
Well, I don't.
First off,
No, TJ, listen. Best dressed. Who was the best dressed prospect there?
draft prospect. I'll probably say, uh, just by team wise, I'll probably say.
No, TJ. Who was the best dressed prospect?
Oh,
Who
of
had the
course.
best suit? Who had the best watch? Who was the Ric Flair of this draft?
I'll probably say, Lonzo Ball, hands down. Uh, Even though Markel Fultz went first, when Lonzo Ball got called for the Lakers, that created it didn't just create a frenzy. It was like
TJ.
it was kind of like yeah.
TJ. Who was the best dressed prospect in this draft?
You talking about as team or as the player?
Who, TJ, listen to my words. Best dressed. Who
Best
had
draft.
the best suit?
Who has the best draft? Okay.
No, dressed.
Oh,
Dressed.
dress. Who has the best dress? Oh man. I'll probably say Markel Fultz. I definitely like his suit. The little inside of the suit had pictures of what he went through his past life. I thought that was really cool. Um, I just like I really like the suit was made. It was custom made to be exact for him, and it actually went with everything that he was going through. So yeah, Markel Fultz definitely to me uh, had best dress just off of the inside of the suit alone.
Yeah, and that was a good one. There were two prospects that stood out in my mind when it came to best dressed. One, I don't remember who it was, had kind of the striped white and black shirt underneath with the pretty cool overcoat. And then the other one was point guard Fox. Like,
Oh
man,
yeah, Darren Fox. Oh man,
he had that Rolex going. He had the big watch. He was
yeah.
styling. Okay, so yeah, that was one that stood out in my mind. Is like he was rocking it out so good. They brought him over during ESPN's pregame. Jalen Rose put his arm around him and was like, you know, guy had it. You're like, man, what's up with the watch? Put the watch up. It's like, yeah, and that's what he was thinking about before the draft. Like, guys, yeah, guys are thinking about all kinds of stuff during the draft. He's like, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking about my watch. It's like, oh, that got it. He's like, that is your style and profiling right there. Like, thinking about my expensive watch. So that was definitely a good one. So that was best dressed from me. Um, I actually did like Lonzo Ball's dressed down look for the most part, but I loved everybody there who rocked the bow tie.
Yeah, that was. I thought that was pretty clever. People who
Yeah,
was rocking
and now,
Lonzo.
Hello.
now, who else is on the phone here?
It's Chris. Hey.
Okay, yeah, the number came up as a different number, but I figure you're the only one I knew from Pennsylvania, so had to be you.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chris, TJ, and myself, after a long bout of coaxing, are going over the best dressed prospect. Who is your best dressed guy in this draft? Who is your Ric Flair for this draft?
There is no Ric Flair to this draft. I think Markelle Fultz is probably the top prospect, and then after that, I'd say Lonzo Ball, because Lonzo Ball, I know he has the thing with his father, but his shooting charts are green everywhere. He has vision, basketball
you
IQ,
guys
passing. All
are
the intangibles in the boxes check out. So
you guys
that's
really
the thing I
are
like
having
with Ball.
you guys are really having problems listening today. I'm sorry,
Talking
it's
about
like best dressed. DRESSED.
By best draft, do you mean the team with the best draft, or do you mean
Dressed.
best player?
No. He's talking about best dress.
Clothing.
Like,
watches. Clothing. Watches.
Like who
You know,
was
got the
best
slacks.
dressed
Got the
who
bow
dressed up
tie.
better in the draft?
I thought the best dressed player in the draft was picked a little bit later. I think Josh Jackson out of Kansas was the best dress.
Was he the one with the striped shirt underneath with the suit?
No, he's the one with the red suit.
Oh yeah, that was a good one too.
Oh man, how I forget the red suit? Oh Lord.
Yeah, I know that was a throwback to the
That
Charles
was
Barkley
nice.
suit that
And
he
you
wore.
guys like to call yourself fashion experts. Lol.
I forgot totally about the red suit.
Hey, when you've had a dozen
I actually went with
concussions,
Markelle
then you
Fultz.
can forget too. The so yeah the we had a few snazzy dressed guys, but doesn't compare to some of the old suits back in the 70s and 80s. But we had some pretty nicely dressed guys here tonight, or not tonight. I guess it was Thursday night. One of them nights. Then we're gonna move on now that Chris got his say in the wardrobe. Okay, that's what I'm gonna say next year. Who had the best wardrobe? Because dressed and draft are obviously too close together in the vocabulary sense. So now we're gonna go over the best pick. Who was the best pick in this draft? TJ, you're up.
Who had the best pick in the draft? Of course, Boston, but Boston, Philly, and the Lakers. But besides those three, who has the best draft? If you ask me, and I'm going with the Timberwolves to be exact, which is funny because let's just cut to the chase. They get Jimmy Butler. They get those subliminal pieces that they need for their team. People, please look out for the Timberwolves this year and next year because they got a good chance of going to the playoffs.
And who was your best draft pick?
I'll probably say when they got Lori Lockett for the trade with Chicago. I think that was their best draft pick, but that was their best move as well.
Now, I'm going to chime in. I didn't watch the whole draft. I didn't go over the whole draft. But my best draft pick is probably going to be Lauri Markkanen by Minnesota. And this is something for... I'm chiming in because TJ just said Minnesota had the best draft. I was a big Markkanen fan. Then I like the De'Aaron Fox pick. And so those two picks were extremely good picks. And if I have to go with the best value pick, for the best value pick, I would have to go with all the way down here. Just keep going down. And I'll have to go with where is he? I'd have to go with John Collins at 19 for Atlanta from Wake Forest. 6'10", 235 power forward. That would be in my opinion, the best value pick. So, TJ, who was the best pick player?
Best player. Okay, let's just in case. Best player, well, the top three. Best player to get drafted to me that can actually do some damage. Let me look at this correct because I'm not even looking at, I'm really not looking at anybody who got drafted right now, which is funny. So, y'all give me 1 minute.
Hey, I'm terrible with names. TJ, while you're looking that up, let's just go over to Chris. Chris, who had the best draft? What team had the best draft?
As far as the team that had the best draft, I think the Lakers got a lot of good value picks. I mean, they got Ball at 2, but there were other players they got later in the first round. Josh Hart out of Villanova. They made a trade with the Utah Jazz at 28. I thought the Jazz reached for their center at 28, and when Magic Johnson moved down, he got Josh Hart, the guy from Villanova that helped them win the 2016 men's title over North Carolina, and they also got Indiana center Thomas Bryant, who averaged double-digit points per game. He can get around 18 points per game, and he's a backup to Brook Lopez, where he can learn under Lopez and develop his skills some more. So I really thought that was a smart trade by the Lakers moving down, getting the rights to Josh Hart and Thomas Bryant. But I think the best overall value pick in the first round has to be, I'm going to go a bit off the deep end with this one, Joey. And when I say that, I'm going to say the best value pick in the first round is going to end up being Derek White, the San Antonio Spurs selection. Derek White is a 6'5", 200-pound guard out of Colorado. He can play point guard, shooting guard. He's good at passing the ball. He can defend well. And he's going into a situation where he gets to learn under both Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. And you know how Popovich takes these players late in the first round and ends up getting excellent value. The Spurs also got Blossomgate out of Clemson in the second round, who I had a first-round grade on at one point. So I think the San Antonio Spurs drafted really well once again, and I feel like they're not being talked about enough because they picked so late in the draft.
Yeah, and TJ, did you find your best player that was taken?
Yeah, I did. I actually found a sleeper. I'm gonna jump all the way to 20. Harry Giles from went to Portland, and that would probably be like the best value pick to
Yeah.
me after getting Justin Jackson for Portland
Well,
at
he was
uh
traded
at
to
15.
Well,
Sacramento later
Portland got
on.
Zach Collins, and they traded the rights to the Sacramento Kings to get Zach Collins, and then Sacramento got Justin Jackson. Jackson was drafted by Portland, but his rights were traded to Sacramento, and the same could be said at number 20 with Harry Giles. So Sacramento got Fox, they got Jackson, and they got Giles in the draft.
Oh wow, so Sacramento's actually looking pretty good. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
I'll probably say Sacramento now. Who that's a really good team. So they not only do they have a 1, they have a 3 and a 4, which that works in their favor because that's subliminal pieces that they really really need, and they finally got the pieces that they need. Now,
Yeah, Collison and Rudy Gay both opted out of their contracts and will be free agents testing the market at point guard, small forward. So they got players that can play those roles as well as another power forward for depth in Giles, who will complement Scala Bissier really well and might even win the starting job over him at some point.
Yeah. And
and
Chris,
And the funny thing about the Kings is that the Kings are with that Kings team, just that Kings team is a young, very young team.
yeah, and Chris, who was your best player to be drafted? Who was your best pick in this draft?
Well, Fultz and Ball, I thought those were the two best overall players in the draft. In terms of value, I also like Josh Jackson out of Kansas. He's going to the Suns at 4, and I think with him playing with Chris, playing with these Marquez Chris, second-year player, power forward out of Washington, with the guards they have in place with Booker and Bledsoe, if they can keep that core, they could be on the rise. There are a lot of teams that were only 1 or 2 players away from completing their starting 5, and a lot of the teams got what they needed. So it's really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens next year, because I do think we're going to see a bit of a shakeup in both the West and the Eastern Conference. Still think Cavs and Warriors will probably be the 2 best teams on paper right now, but I also think we're going to see a shakeup as far as certain teams moving out of the top 8, other teams moving in, with all the drafting teams have done, building through the draft.
Yeah, and now we're going to change gears a little bit here. And we're going to go on, and I'm going to ask TJ, who in your mind had the worst draft?
Oh man, um, I had to go with the Brooklyn Nets, and it's a lot of reasons why for the Brooklyn Nets. Let's just say, to start it off, y'all didn't even get a first round pick, let alone they didn't get a pick that that could really solidify and help build the team up. So Brooklyn Nets by far had probably the worst draft, even though they did get Jarrett Allen, which I thought that's somebody that you actually need. Yeah, I let go of Brook Lopez for Timothy Mozgov.
They also gave their pick to the Lakers at 27 in that trade.
Exactly. So it didn't really help y'all in the back end, really.
And Mozgov's not going to replace Brook Lopez, and if you're lucky, Jarrett Allen will replace Thaddeus Young. Because remember, there was a point where the Nets had Delonte West, Thaddeus Young, Brook Lopez. They had a good supporting cast, but they just didn't have the coach that could get them to the playoffs. And they sort of tore the team apart because they didn't have first-round picks from the Celtics trade way back when, and they have been in a rebuilding mode ever since. And the Nets just got played on that trade with Brook Lopez, and it's gonna be tough. They're gonna miss out on all these really good centers that could replace Lopez in next year's draft. So, I mean, that's a great point, TJ. But I'll say the worst draft for me was the Miami Heat, because I felt like Bam Adebayo is going to be a backup to Hassan Whiteside, and they could have drafted Collins at 14, and they didn't. So I think the Miami Heat are one of the worst teams in the draft. And another team that reached was Milwaukee Bucks. They took DJ Wilson out of Michigan, a borderline first-round pick at 17 when John Collins was still on the board, which I thought was extremely irresponsible.
I agree. I agree with the Milwaukee Bucks on that one. I definitely agree. For Bama Abreu, I mean, upside is that he is athletic. He's not as tall. He's not 7 foot. He's 6'10". So, I mean, let's just say that if he played power forward, it would be a lot. It wouldn't be a lot difficult. It would be kind of fitting for him to play, because he has the body to like actually get in the hole and want to actually bang in the hole like a Zach Randolph.
Now, let's go staying along the lines of who did it worst. Who was, in your mind, the worst pick? And I'll get this started because this is something that I've had strong feelings about, and I know I got some flack about it on draft night from you guys, or at least Chris and Ryan. But I'm going to say Frank Ntilikina from France. Everybody was riding this guy for the Knicks at number 8 hard. Everybody loved him. If a guy averages 5 points, if a guy averages only a few minutes a game, everybody says, oh, he's a great defender, oh, he's a great shooter, oh, he's this, oh, he's that. Well, his coach must say something different, because he isn't getting time, he's not getting shots, and he's not getting stats. So, whatever the Knicks were thinking, they bought into some type of hype. Or they did it on very little film. Because you're getting a guy out of France, they're known for their fundamentals, they're known for their shooting. He's shooting at a rate where he's getting 5 points a game. That is, for a point guard, a guard of any type, 5 points a game be taking number 8 is terrible value, and I just don't see it working out for the Knicks. Chris, who is your best?
Frank Nikita is his shooting charts are actually better than Fox based on where he shoots the ball and how he gets points. However, like you said, he only averaged 5 points per game, and you're not the only one that's down on that pick, Joey. Tony Mario, who emails me a lot about mock drafts, writes for Draft Utopia, he actually thought that was the worst pick in the entire NBA draft as well.
Yeah, and who is your worst pick, Chris?
Didn't I already go over that before TJ mentioned his worst pick?
No, you guys mentioned your worst teams.
Well, I thought there were a lot of decisions that
you gave everybody
were
A
questionable
pluses.
in the team. I guess I'll say DJ Wilson of the Milwaukee Bucks, because I felt like that was a reach at that point in the first round. Terrence Ferguson was another reach, but he has potential to be a 2 or a 3, like you stated on our draft special on Draft Utopia. One team that really went under the radar and dominated the second round is the Memphis Grizzlies. They got the rights to Ivan Rabb in a trade, and they got the rights to Dylan Brooks out of Oregon, 2 guys that I had in the first round of my final mock draft. They got both of those guys in the second round by trades, TJ. So Memphis Grizzlies, they get more depth at forward. They are a team to look out for in the future. mean, Rab gets the chance to be Zach Randolph's protege.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's what I was about to say too.
And who's your worst pick, TJ?
I got to go with the Knicks, man. I don't know. That it's not even because of his points. I think he can't run that triangle offense, and I mean, I think they didn't think it over to like, okay, who can we actually get in it? The funny thing is they had a chance to get in Dennis Smith before even getting Frank. And my thing is, why didn't you go after Dennis Smith?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask.
That is a great question to ask because Frank Nikita, he has a better shooting chart and he plays better defense than Dennis Smith Jr. But at the same time, Dennis Smith Jr. averages 18 points per game. Nikita only averages 5. Dennis Smith Jr. got compared to Russell Westbrook, whereas Nikita got compared to Brandon Jennings, who is the backup point guard on the Knicks with an expiring contract.
Yeah.
There's a lot that can be said. I can't even explain the Knicks on this one. Like that I think that was a rush pick that they did, and I really think they rushed that pick.
Yeah, that just seemed, it was a weird pick to me. Seems like it was a weird pick to other people. And finally, before we wrap up today, we're going to look at Rookie of the Year predictions. Who, in your guys' mind, wins Rookie of the Year this season?
The 3 finalists, I probably would go with, can't pronounce his name, I think his last name started with an S, sorry, from Philly. The reason why is because he do have the low numbers, but he's the only person out of that finalist that played all 82 games. And still can get you at least double-digit numbers. Not to take anything away from Joel Embiid. I think Joel Embiid is a great player. I think he's a great center. But Joel Embiid only played 31 games.
Yeah, and Chris?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting year for Philadelphia. Embiid finally played in his first season, but he's been injury-prone his entire career heading into the NBA. Hasn't really stayed fully healthy since his Kansas days. Then you got Ben Simmons, missed all last year. So if these guys can all stay healthy, they have a shot of picking in between 11 and 14 next year. I do not think they are a playoff team, but I do think if those 3 players play 82 games, they can finish outside the top 10 in the NBA draft next year.
And Chris, I know
Lakers,
you probably know.
I'm going to say the Lakers win Rookie of the Year. I'm going to go out on a bold prediction here. I know I am a Lakers fan. It sounds biased, but I'm going to go out and say Lonzo Ball wins Rookie of the Year. He actually gets the Lakers an 8th seed in the playoffs. And then LeVar Ball, his father, makes a really outrageous prediction that the Lakers will sweep Golden State, and that'll be the fuel, the fire that will motivate Golden State to sweep the Lakers.
Now you want...
Why is that funny, TJ?
I gotta laugh because it's so true. I can see that happening.
Now, my Rookie of the Year is gonna be one probably don't see coming. De'Aaron Fox, Sacramento. That's who I'm looking at. The Kings, they're getting that run and gun stuff going up here. But what else do they have? Let's look here.
Oh man,
They've got.
I didn't know you was talking about Rookie of the Year for this year.
Yeah.
My bad.
It's alright, man. Best just to go with it.
Alright. But if we're talking about Rookie of the Year for this year, I would actually go with Jason Tatum. And it's a lot of reasons why I'm going with Jason Tatum. Boston has the team. Boston has the creativity. I think Jason Tatum will fit. He fit well in that team as far as his shooting aspect, as far as what he can give you height and waist wise, being 6'8" and having a 7-foot wingspan, maybe over 7 foot wingspan. His shooting ability, what he can do for his shooting decisions. I think Jason Tatum will be a nice piece that Boston can fiddle with Jaylen Brown. They can always come off the bench. So yeah, but I like how Boston actually look as a team.
Yeah, cool. And as a Boston fan, I like that pick. But
All right, before we wrap things up, I want to throw out, I just figured out, I just got all the images for the top overall picks in the 2018 draft this morning for NHL, NBA, MLB, and Major League Soccer. So I want to throw out the
congratulations.
top pick in the 2018 NBA draft really quickly before we wrap up, the projected top pick at this point, because this is an NBA show, and I want to keep things relevant to that instead of talking about the other top picks in the other sports. So the top pick in the 2018 NBA draft at this point
Thank you.
is Michael Porter Jr. He's a high school senior.
Yes.
He committed to Missouri, and he's averaging 23 points per game. And if the Boston Celtics get the number 1 pick next year and keep it, they're going to be
exactly.
stacked because that's the final piece. I mean, the only thing they really lack is a power forward. And this guy's a power forward. He averages 23 points per game. And I feel like the Celtics, if they don't win the lottery, I feel like they're going to trade all of their picks just to move up to get him.
And that's the funny thing is that they will most likely win lottery because guess who draft picks they have?
Brooklyn.
None other than the sorry Brooklyn Nets. And I'm sorry to say this for anybody, but that was probably the most dumbest trade that Brooklyn has ever done.
Most dumbest, TJ, really?
They traded all those picks for an aging Kevin
Chris,
Garnett and
Chris,
an aging Paul
Chris,
Pierce, and
Chris.
it backfired.
Chris, just 1 second. I got to address TJ here. Most dumbest, really?
The dumbest. Okay, the dumbest.
Okay, that's better. You're learning. Now, Chris.
But like I said, Brooklyn got Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce in that trade, and they were both 37 and like 35 at the time. So they got hosed on that trade because after Brooklyn did it poorly, Jason Kidd left for Milwaukee. The team collapsed, team fell apart, and Boston got those first-round picks.
And Boston fans are extremely happy.
Oh yeah, they had every right to be happy after what's going to happen, let alone get the first round draft pick again.
And
I feel like Michael Porter, once they get him, they're going to make the NBA Finals and unseat the Cavs.
well, that is something we're going to keep an eye on for next year. Probably keep an eye on. There is 1 year at Missouri. So, but it is that time. So, if you like this video, feel free to like and share with all your friends and family and people you've never met on Facebook. And for TJ,
Subscribe and comment below on the Draft Evolution page for prospect requests, and Joey will get on that immediately.
well, gee, thanks. Not much pressure there. But for TJ, for Chris, for everyone at the Evolution Network, and once again for Chris for putting me on the spot, I am Joseph Potter. Have fun and take care.